Hello and welcome to NPC, that still stands for Next Portable Console.
Still?
Although, we'll see. I'm one of your co-hosts, Federico Ticci, and I'm joined as always this week as well by John Voorhees. Hello, John.
Hey, Federico. I can tell you've got something so big up your sleeve that you can barely keep it contained right now. Just look at him. Watch the video. Look at him right now. He's
I'm smiling.
He's ready.
I'm smiling. I'm ready.
He's smiling. He's ready.
We're going to talk about... so Brendon is still on his honeymoon. We miss you, Brendon. He'll be back soon enough. He's been posting lots of pictures of rural Japan, lots of food. We appreciate you, Brendon, for the pictures.
Did you see how much he's been walking? His app, Gentler Streaks, has been begging him to slow down.
Did you see how much he's been eating?
No, he's found some really good food.
After all the walking, it makes sense, The guy...
Yeah, he's burning those calories.
Yeah.
He'll come back, he'll come back even fitter and trimmer than he ever was. So.
Yeah, even cooler than he was.
Yeah, for
all
sure.
right, but I have a bit of a surprise to share on the show today. But before we get to that, we're going to cover some news. John, what's up with Nintendo?
So we don't have as much Nintendo news this week, but we do have some. I thought it was interesting that Bloomberg reported this week that Samsung is the company making the main chips for the Switch 2, and that because of that, the reason they chose Samsung is because Samsung can handle greater volume than I forget who they used to use for this.
Was it TSMC? I don't know. I don't remember.
It might have been, but I think TSMC is pretty locked up by Apple.
Yeah.
So with using Samsung, presumably from what Bloomberg says, gives them more production capacity and may allow them. I think that during their earnings call, Nintendo said that they were hoping to get to 15 million units by April of next year, but this article suggested it could be more like 20 million. So, Nintendo was very cagey about it. Their estimate was more of our goal is to reach at least what the Switch 1 did in its first year. But I think that they may end up it sounds like they may have the capacity to do a little bit more. So that would be good. I mean, we'll see. We also talked last week about how Best Buy is going to, at least in the United States, is going to have some stock and shelves. So let's hope, fingers crossed that people who didn't get in a pre-order will still have an opportunity to walk into a store and get a Switch 2 wherever they happen to live.
Yeah.
So.
Can you believe it that we'll be together at WWDC in California in a couple of weeks and
with our Switches?
Realistically, fingers crossed, with our new Nintendo Switches.
Yeah. We'll do a little Mario Kart world together. Yeah,
we gotta do a little Mario Kart world indeed. Speaking of Mario Kart world, what did Nintendo say about it, John?
They had one of these developer interviews that they put on their website now and then, which are really, really good. If you haven't looked at these before, I suggest read them. They tend to be a little lengthy, but there's a lot of interesting insights in them. And this particular interview mentioned that Mario Kart World was originally slated for the original Switch, and it got bumped to the Switch 2 at some point. Now, that's not super surprising. I don't think it had been said before, so it is news, but I'm not too surprised. A lot of times Nintendo has done that in the past when they've gone from one console generation to another, although a lot of times they'll bridge and have the game on both systems at the same time, which they've done in the past, like with Breath of the Wild. But they're not doing that with Mario Kart World. That's a Switch 2 exclusive.
So this company could fit Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on the Nintendo Switch, but they couldn't do it for Mario Kart World. That is interesting. That is interesting to me. And I mean, but I also get like maybe, if at some point in development you realize, we need a launch title for the Switch 2 and you start developing just for the Switch 2, at that point it maybe becomes impossible to say, well, let's also backport it to the Switch 1, even if theoretically we can fit the game on the Switch 1. But if you're, riding against a new graphics engine, for example, at that point it becomes impossible to just say, and it's also Switch 1.
Right. They might not have been able to do things like have as many racers, for instance, if they had done it on both systems. So I'm actually kind of glad it's on the Switch 2 exclusively. I mean, it's a little disappointing if you're not planning to get one. On the other hand, I think, optimizing for the new hardware probably is going to make it a better game overall.
Yeah. just a quick parenthesis, because we are going to talk about this on NPC XL for our Patreon subscribers. That is just $5 a month if you want to join. SteamOS, as promised, it's late May. SteamOS came out for a whole bunch of devices. We're going to talk about it on XL. I have it running on one of my handhelds. Yeah. I'll save my thoughts for NPC XL. We're going to talk about that. Now, before we talk about this long-awaited surprise, we also have some handheld news to cover on this episode. There's some first impressions about the Anbernic RG34XXSP, the one with the big forehead. If this were an episode, of Friends, it would be called "The One with the Big Forehead." That would be. I
think we have a title for the episode now. Yes.
Okay, so what are these first impressions saying, John?
Well, I think that they're generally favorable. I personally think the big forehead looks funny, and we'll get to why there's a big forehead in just a moment. But it's essentially what we've talked about before. It's we'll talk about the 3.4-inch display in a sec, but it's got an all-winner H700, and it's got a dual core GPU and a couple of gigs of RAM and 2 micro SD slots, a 3300 milliamp hour battery, lasts maybe 6 hours or so, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, pretty standard stuff, so I think Retro Handhelds gave it pretty good marks in their firsthand hands-on impressions with it. But one thing that was kind of interesting about it is it turns out that the screen that they're using, there's some controversy over whether it's actually a 4:3 screen and not a 3:2 screen, because the Fox took apart the handheld on his channel, on his YouTube channel, and it looks like there's room in there for 4:3. It's outputting some data saying that it's a 4:3 screen. And so people immediately had, flashbacks to the Retroid Pocket Mini and all the things that went on there. But the company, I think, has made a statement saying that, of course, Russ from Metro Game Corps had a statement that he got from Anbernic. It's weird that he's become kind of like almost like the spokesperson for some of these companies, but they said that it's he said that it's not unusual for these devices to be outputting incorrect data sometimes about screen sizes and things because of the way they're put together. It's not so there seems to be some question about whether this is really a 4:3 screen or just a space for a 4:3 screen, which I don't quite follow, but I haven't followed this nearly as closely, I think, as some people have, since I didn't buy it and don't really intend to.
Interesting. I am not ready for more display drama with this handheld.
No, I know. And that's the forehead thing. I think that's where they tuck in the rest of the 4:3 part of the screen. It's up in that big forehead. And they use the bezels to get it down to 3:2. And I don't think it's as big of an issue because of the way the aspect ratios work as between 3:2 and 4:3. And the pixel density here as it would be on the Retroid, but from what I understand. But there's been some there's internet sleuthing going on Reddit, as there always is.
As always, I do want to talk about the MSI Claw 8. So the MSI Claw has been through a whole ordeal in terms of, like, when it first launched, it was really bad. Then they got a spec bump with the 8. What was it called? 8 AI Plus. Something like that. And it was based on Intel, one of the new Intel systems on a chip for handhelds. And it was pretty good. It was actually pretty positively reviewed. Now, with the MSI Claw 8, A8, they're switching to AMD. So the new MSI Claw will have the Z2 Extreme. It's going to have the Z2 Extreme with 16 core graphics. I believe it is 32 gigs of RAM, I want to say.
I think that's right.
I think that's, let's see, 16 RDNA cores. I think it's using, so it's the same 500 nits display. Do we have confirmation about RAM? USB 4, that's nice. 120 hertz, 1920 by 1200 IPS LCD.
It's 24 gigs of RAM.
24 gigs, okay.
24.
Interesting. And Wi-Fi 6E. So Interesting. I mean, same design, but they're using the Z2 Extreme. I am
Right.
really keen to see benchmarks and tests with this thing. Really
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah. It comes in white and lime green, reminiscent of the Kiwi Game Boy Color, I think, based on the picture I saw. And they're not giving up on the Intel one. The 8 AI is
Mhm.
still sticking around with its Intel processor, but these two new models, which I think the only difference is the color, are using the AMD chips, as you said.
Why is it called AI?
Do we
Okay.
know when it's coming out, Federico?
Well,
I
I
mean, I
don't.
know this was a Computex announcement, which means it may be a while.
Yeah, it may be a while. I don't think we have a release date.
I don't think so either.
We are going to save some Computex links for the little sort of quasi newsletter that I do, my link outtakes for Patreon subscribers. So there's going to be a whole grab bag of these random announcements from Computex, including
Yeah.
a foldable laptop, Xiaomi doing its own in-house chip. I'm going to save all that. But from Computex, I do want to give a shout out to something that I previously mentioned on the show, something that is happening that we were expecting. Thunderbolt 5 eGPUs are here. They've been announced. They're going to come soon enough. So we have, I believe, 3 announcements. We have Asus doing the new ROG XG Station eGPU with Thunderbolt 5. We have
Right.
Aros doing a brand new AI box. This is like their all-in-one eGPU that's going to carry a 5090 desktop. And Sparkle, this company called Sparkle, announced this eGPU enclosure. I'm not familiar with this company, but
I'm not either.
they're also going to use Thunderbolt 5. So it looks like over the next few months, there's going to be plenty, at least 3. We'll wait for more. I am curious to see if all
It's more
these,
than 0, Federico. I mean, we
more
were
than
at 0
zero.
before. So.
More than 0. I am curious to see if all these companies are going to use the same Thunderbolt 5 controller, or by controller I mean like the actual chip that is going to manage the
the
Thunderbolt.
little board on
A lot of
the
a
little
lot of
PCB.
yeah, the little PC. A lot of Thunderbolt 4 eGPUs are all using the same off-the-shelf Thunderbolt controller from China based manufacturers. I want to
Yeah.
see if Asus, for example, is gonna do its own thing, or if they're all gonna have the same controller, which means you can expect like pretty comparable performance between all of these eGPUs. We'll see.
Now we need to get some devices that actually use this.
Hmm.
There's still very few laptops that have Thunderbolt 5 and no handhelds that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
Lay it on me, Federico. Come on. What have you been up to? Come on.
I have
Spill
been
the beans.
I have been up to something for the past month. So if you recall,
Yeah.
we recently had a conversation about me being the sort of person who tends to like living on the bleeding edge of stuff.
Yes. That is you.
And this upsets people sometimes, and I get it. And I get it because I always switch things, and I know that I rarely settle in my life on anything. That is just my nature as a person. Like
It's also kind of our job.
it's also kind of it is our job to try new stuff because our main job is a tech news and reviews website.
Right.
But I am capable of settling myself. I'm not like a compulsive switcher. I bought a house 3 years ago.
Only in parts of your life. Only in parts of your life are you a compulsive switcher. That's okay.
I have been using Obsidian as my main text editor for
You had the
years.
same girlfriend for several years.
I have been with Sylvia.
Many years.
I have been with Sylvia for 18 years. I am capable of settling in my life.
Yeah.
But for some things I'm not. And so when it comes to tech, especially, I like to try things. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been in this racket for like 16 years at this point, right? I like
Yeah.
to try stuff. I like to try things. And one of the things that I've realized about myself is that I like performance. I like power. I like a powerful thing. I like a powerful phone. A
You can never
computer.
have too much speed, never have too much memory, whatever.
Right. And so what do you think I did, John?
Well, my
Any
first
last
guess.
minute guesses?
Well, my first guess, which I know is wrong, is I thought you got the Asus, what is it, the Z13 Flow, which is that kind of tablet laptop, which Brendon and I saw at CES, and it's really nice. And packs quite a punch for its size. And we had been talking about tablet gaming on the last episode, and that's why I was like, yes, that's what Federico got. And I immediately got a nope back from
And
you
that's not
last week. So it's not that. And you got all right. Here it is. Here it is.
Okay.
Here's my last guess. I got one last guess. You got a Razer gaming laptop. You got like a Razer 14.
No. So
Okay.
the reason why you haven't been able to guess is that this is very out of character for me. I have
Okay.
done something that is very out of character for me. But if you piece together my conversations about performance and power, I thought you would get there, but you haven't.
No,
So-
I haven't.
All right, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
I got a gaming PC.
I was close. I said a Razer laptop. I was kidding.
I got a
I
gaming-
was too specific.
I got a gaming PC. And then
Yeah?
I'm going to progressively peel this gamer onion, so to speak.
Oh boy, I know where this gamer onion is going.
I got a gaming PC.
Can I make one more guess?
Okay, sure.
You got a mini tower so that you could fit it under your desk.
It's not a mini tower, but it is under my desk.
Okay.
I got a gaming PC, first layer, with a 5090.
Yeah, well, that's a given. I that's easy to guess.
Second layer with 96 gigs of RAM.
Oh my gosh.
Third layer with an AMD, one of the new Ryzen 9
Oh, nice.
CPUs. We're going to talk about the
Yeah,
specs
yeah.
in a minute. And finally, this was custom assembled for me from a company in the UK called Inside Tech. And the reason why I did it
Interesting.
is that I wanted a very specific build that I couldn't buy
Yeah.
off the shelf. And I didn't want to assemble it myself because I like to tinker. I am not capable of tinkering that much. And I'm not.
And when you tinker that much with super expensive parts, makes me anxious when you're talking about a very expensive GPU and all.
So I got in touch with this company because I wanted to have a small enclosure for this gaming PC, but with really good cooling and ventilation. All right, so we can talk about the specs now, and then
Yeah, because a 5090, boy, that must think that's gonna your feet are gonna be so warm all winter long.
You would think, but no, because it's liquid cooled.
Oh,
Okay, so
Well, the heat's still got to go somewhere.
well, it's
Federico.
going
gotta-
up, but it's not that much heat. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's
because
not blowing a fan like a space heater
it's
would.
very
I get
quiet.
it.
It's very quiet. So I got a Lian Li A3 case in white.
Okay.
I really
Oh, of
wanted
course,
to
yeah.
have a white case that matches all of my white accessories in my office.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna talk about specs. A Lian Li A3 case, a
Okay.
15,
How big is that case? To give
It's-
you
40 centimeters long, about 30 centimeter high. It's rectangular shaped, basically.
okay.
You can Google the pictures. You can put it in the show notes, basically.
Yeah,
So-
you should send me some links, Feder. You're gonna have to send me some links after this.
So an NVIDIA 5090 desktop. It's not an NVIDIA Founders Edition. It's what's it called? It's
One of
Panlit.
the MSI ones.
No, not MSI, but it's one of the third-party one. Panlit, something like that.
Mhm.
It's a third-party manufacturer that is certified to have an NVIDIA 5090. It's got a Gigabyte AM5 B850M motherboard. It means
Okay.
it's got all the fancy stuff, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi 6E, I believe. But it's connected over Ethernet, so I don't care.
Right.
It's got originally I purchased an AMD 7950X3D, but it wasn't in stock. And these folks at Inside Tech UK highly recommend. They did such an incredible job with the build, with the packing, with the delivery, with everything. They freely upgraded it for me to an AMD Ryzen 9 9950 X3D, which came out 2 months ago. This thing
Wow.
is a beast.
Yeah, I remember when that came out. Yeah.
16 cores, 5.7 gigahertz in this processor. It's incredible. Like I mentioned, 96 gigs of DDR5 RAM, speed of 5200 megahertz. It's a Corsair Vengeance. It's 2 modules of 48 gigabytes of RAM each. 4 terabytes of storage. And a 1000 watt Corsair Gold power supply. So that it can manage the 5090. Windows 11.
Your electric bill is going to be crazy between this and all the AI testing you've been doing.
Windows 11 Pro, and it's got a liquid cooler. So it's got the 240 Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 cooler. Plus additional fans. Of course, the GPU has its own fans, and there's the cooler, and the cooler cools everything, and the hot air comes up. So this thing is a dream. So I realized I'm gonna do 2 things from now on. I wanted to, first of all, I wanted to stop having to worry about performance, and I wanted to future-proof myself for years to come. And with this kind of setup, I'm good for a few years.
Oh, you're good for a long time.
I'm good for a very long time. I realized during the day and sometimes at night, I'm mostly going to play games at my desk in my office. And, for portable cases, I'm going to talk about streaming in a second, but I got my Steam Deck, future SteamOS handhelds, and I'm going to have streaming. More on that in a minute. But mostly, I'm going to play games at my desk. And I really wanted to take advantage of this beautiful OLED display, 4K 27-inch OLED display that I have. And I realized, well, I feel like my obsession for performance, the fact that my routine, my life, my daily schedule has evolved in such a way that all my gaming and my work is happening at the same desk. I already told you, I already cleared out, I cleared out the space here to put on my Nintendo Switch with the dock when it comes out. This is going to be a modular setup where I can get my work done, or I can get my, my gaming time here. So I realized I think it's time for me to do something that I've never done before, which is have a proper gaming PC.
That's nice. That's really nice. So it sits on the floor underneath your desk?
Underneath my desk on the floor, because there was a compromise with my girlfriend. Which was like, I don't want to see that thing on your desk, but it's fine if you put it under. The performance is insane.
I know you've been playing some Clair Obscur. Is that one of the games you've been playing on this yet, or not? I know you haven't had it very long, but
I've been playing Clair Obscur. Basically, with this thing, with the 5090, what you can do is you can enable 4K resolution, DLSS balanced, or whatever upscaling and frame generation mode you want. I get access to the latest version of DLSS, version 4. And what you can do, you can just go into whatever game you want to play, tick the 4K box, tick ultra or epic settings, and don't touch anything else. Like it gives you enough headroom to just say, I know that it's an expensive purchase, but it means that I probably won't need the way things are going, I probably won't need a Sony or Xbox console in my future at this point, because I'm just gonna have this thing for many years. And realistically, I'm gonna sell my Xbox. We'll see about the PS5, but obviously I'm gonna keep my Nintendo Switch because that's a different conversation. Clair Obscur, you play that game. You basically get, depending on the game, more than 100 frames per second in every game. Like, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth again, 4K, DLSS, and I get 120 frames. Cyberpunk, you enable DLSS, 4K, ray tracing everywhere, you get more than 100 frames. You play Clair Obscur, you get some peaks of like 140 frames. It's a dream come true if you care about picture quality, and I do, because I was really waiting and saving for the display. It's just it's so nice to have this kind of power under my desk, so that when I do have that limited gaming time for me, I don't have to tweak. I don't have to fiddle around with settings anymore. I can just hit play and enjoy.
Yeah, I'm happy for you, Federico. I can see myself doing something like this similar in the future. I mean, I don't have any plans now, but I totally understand kind of why you want to have that sort of setup, because you don't want to mess with it. You have precious little time to play your games, and so if all you have to do is turn on your PC, tick a couple of boxes, and start playing, that's perfect. That's really perfect. I think it's worth mentioning too, so people know, you got your OLED monitor. What was it, like 3 or 4 months ago, maybe?
No,
Something like that.
2 months ago, I think.
Oh, 2 months ago. There was a lot of those announced again at Computex this past week. So Samsung and a bunch of other companies are coming out with new models. I think we're going to see lots more OLED and very fast OLED, and with quick response times coming up in the second half of the year.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, I've now reached the point.
That's cool.
I've now reached the point where I have this incredibly powerful thing, and I can just open up a game and just play the game instead of fiddling with settings and graphic settings and all that kind of stuff. Does that mean I'm gonna stop using handhelds? No, because there's still gonna be times when I'm not home and I want to play, or when I don't want to get out of bed, which also leads me to the conversation about streaming.
Okay.
I have had an incredible experience using the Lenovo Legion Tab, which again, the conversation from last week, it's got better Wi-Fi, it's got a better screen, it's bigger, the image quality on that display is incredible. And it's got obviously like a much better Wi-Fi signal than anything else I've tested. And I've had a really, really good experience with the Razer game streaming app that we mentioned after CES, I believe.
Yeah.
That app,
that's good to know.
That app takes away so much complexity because it's based on
Moonlight.
It's Moonlight, but it takes away all of the fiddling. Again, a recurring theme. It takes away all of the fiddling typically involved with Moonlight. You just download the Razer app, you sign in, you pair your mobile device with your gaming PC, and you're basically done. It takes care of the handshake between devices. It takes care of the Wi-Fi. It takes care of the picture quality. It takes care of adjusting the resolution on your mobile device so that it's in full screen and you don't get the pillar box or the letter boxing. Right. It's just, again, it's a plug and play experience. You just leave the Razer software running on your computer and you get, imagine Moonlight with the best settings and none of the tweaking, which I know some people love the tweaking. I used to, but now that my time is limited, I don't anymore. So
yeah, I hear
being able to stream from my PC on my local network with Wi-Fi 7, boy, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's good to know, because I mean, I think if I had a desktop PC, that I would probably use it at least 50% of the time with a handheld streaming like that. So to have a good solution like that now is a big deal. I mean, have you ever tried that with one of your handhelds, like trying to stream from your ROG Ally or your Legion Go?
I have not tested that yet. I have only tested the Legion Tab.
I've been meaning to, but I haven't. I wanted to put it on my Legion Go and see how it works, streaming from the Legion Go, like plugged in with Ethernet or something in my office, to something like the Portal, for instance.
Yeah. So this is what I've done. I've been waiting for, it took forever for the case to arrive at the Inside Tech folks, and the build, and then the shipping, and the customs, and paying taxes in Italy. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, I bet.
Only Mike knew. So Mike, you're now free.
Oh, I knew Mike knew.
Mike, you're now free. You're now free to talk about this.
Yeah, I was tempted to pressure him, but I didn't. I left well enough alone. Let me ask you this. Do they ship to, I mean, obviously they probably ship to the UK and they ship to Italy, obviously. Would they ship to the US or other places?
I think so. And Chris, the owner of Inside Tech, incredible guy. Like, really, really, really good communication with them. Even though, like, what I wanted was not an option on the website when you pick and choose the parts. So I sent them an email. I was like, hey, can we actually customize, because it doesn't let me pick this? And so they worked with me and we created the build over email. Really, really good customer service. After I gotta tell you, when when the computer got here,
Yeah.
my heart sank because the GPU was not being recognized. And I was like, oh my God, this
Oh,
got damaged in transit. So I had to
yeah.
open it up. I sent him an email. I was like, I was panicking. I was like, is the GPU broken? Because the NVIDIA app is not recognizing the GPU. It says that there's no GPU found. Turns out
Yeah.
that the GPU, even though they put all this foam around it, they left a little handwritten note for me on how to remove the foam around the GPU. And I guess when I did that, the GPU came slightly loose from the motherboard. So
Oh,
I just needed a little push
little
down, again,
push.
a little push, and then it was perfect. It was recognized again, and it's been sitting there just doing its thing. It's super quiet. I mean, when the game kicks in, you can hear the fans, you can hear
Sure.
the computer, but it's not as loud. It doesn't sound like a plane taking off. I can tell you that. And the cooler is doing God's work down there. Like
I bet. I bet.
the liquid cooler, sort of cooling everything, and the other fan sort of pushing the hot air up. The temperatures really never go up 70 degrees, I want to say. They did an incredible job with the
Mhm.
cable management and with the cooling. They recommended, like, the build that I suggested. It was like, yeah, you can do that, but I would actually recommend using this other cooler because it's going to be tight in there and you want to make sure that you get all your temps down. So all around, a really good experience assembling this build with Inside Tech. This is not like a paid endorsement. It's just my personal customer
Right.
experience. But yeah, I'm so happy. Like, I got this thing. It's powerful. I can play games without having to worry about anything else, and I can stream. And it's gonna be fun to test the performance of different handhelds for streaming. And I tested the
Yeah.
Razer app. I guess I can try other things when I have more time, but I just want to be prepared for today's episode with this reveal. So this is what I tested.
All right. All right. Well, great. Fantastic, Federico. Congratulations. I think that's a lot of fun. I would love to see your computer sometime. I hope I get a chance to see it there in Rome sometime.
Yes.
Well, I think that's it for today,
it.
folks. The big surprise, the big reveal, Federico is now a PC gamer.
Yes, I
Once
am.
again.
Once again.
All right. Well, you can find us all over the internet. Brendon is still on his honeymoon, but he's at wavelengths.online and on Into the Aether. Federico and I are at macstories.net, and we do a bunch of other podcasts and things, and the three of us can all be found on social media where you can search for our names and you'll find us. That's it for today, folks. Talk to you soon, Federico.
Bye.